Okay, so before this video gets started, I just have to ask a quick question of the crowd, because it's been asked many times of me on TikTok. So I just kind of want to see what the room's opinion is. Should I be allowed to dress myself? Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a bit of an extension of a previous video I did, talking a little bit about how I wanted to approach live sets. Since that video came out, I released an EP that I had been working on for a bit, and my real goal has been to try to find a way to play that EP live without just sitting behind a computer. And as cool and as fun as it is to use hardware, it is also a major pain to try to figure out the best way to actually go about playing a live set that you wrote on a computer on hardware. Which leads me to where I am now, which is essentially trying to make sense of what I'm doing with my live set. So this is a bit of a part 2 on that. It's kind of me trying to figure out how to do a live set without having to bring my entire studio to a location. So it's kind of where I'm working from at this point. Now, at the heart of this live set is a new piece of gear for me, which is the Electron Octatrack. I've had this for a few weeks now. I am still learning it, and I'm going to be learning it for a very long time. That being said, I thought that this video might also be a nice resource to people who are like me. They're kind of new to the Octatrack, and they kind of have a similar idea of wanting to do this sort of hybrid stems to playback and also live gear. I feel like this might be a good starting place for some people because this is something that I found super useful, and I kind of had to figure out my own way about it because a lot of people are using the Octatrack in much more advanced and much cooler ways. And I got a little baby brain, so I'm gonna need some little baby brain ideas. So I'm hoping that this helps. So I'm gonna give a quick rundown of what I have. I'm gonna give a quick playthrough of how I'm using it, and then I'm gonna come back and kind of explain why I've made the choices that I've made. So let's start on this side of the Octatrack. So these tracks are mainly static machines. So this here is a kick drum, and then these tracks are all used to play back stems. This side is through tracks. So the first track 5 here is a stereo track that is taking the input from my modular. Track 6 is a neighbor track to that, so I can just double the amount of effects that I'm using for this outboard gear. Track 7 is my vocal track right now. This probably wouldn't be used live because I would barely probably use a microphone live, but this is really great for if I start using my vocals more and more live. So that's what that's for. Track 8 here is a master track, which I'm using to add a little bit of compression at the end of the chain, but I also have some effects built in, like a high-pass filter. All right, no more beating around the bush. Here's a performance from a track off of my latest EP, Computer Music. The track is called Call You, and this is what it sounds like to perform it live with this setup. So not to toot my own horn there, but I'm pretty proud of that. I'm pretty proud of that whole little setup. So let me kind of break down exactly what I've got going on and kind of how I have things set up. So let me start off with kind of talking down through each of these tracks individually and kind of break it down. So the first track, I just have a kick programmed in. I just have a bunch of sample triggers that will play back kicks. So I have a bunch of kick trigs, and then I also have here in my sources, I have the opportunity to change out for whatever drum sample I want. And to me, this is super valuable because the kick is kind of venue specific from my experience, at least. You really want to make sure that the kick sounds right in each room. So, a small house with, a crappy pair of speakers is going to sound really different from a big club with a really nice set of speakers. And you're going to want your kick to sound different for each room and for each sort of vibe. So I can actually, as you see here, I can just change the kick for the situation. Which is awesome. What's great as well is I can absolutely just send that track to the queue out. If I have a sound engineer who wants a little more control over the mix, I can give them that kick directly and they can sort of mix that in. And then if I have a sound engineer who just is like, just give me the stereo signal, fine, no problem. So that, to me, is already just a super valuable way of doing these things. And I essentially have set up in each of these patterns kind of different kick patterns that I would end up using just depending on different parts of the song. So I've set up a lot of my patterns in that sort of way. So let's go to these tracks next. Essentially, these tracks, I just have playing a one-shot sample, and I actually have it so that you can see on these trig condition page, it's only playing the first time it's ever triggered. And on these tracks, I have my stems, and I'm just having them play front to back for the song because I know the patterns of these songs by heart, and frankly, I'm not looking to kind of jump around too much in the actual progression of the song. As I said, little dumb baby brain. I'm not there yet. So what this is great for is I have my drums and some other noises set here with the bass drum excluded, and then I also have my vocal samples sent on a separate track so I can kind of mix a little bit independently there. So that's like this. See, I've got that sort of like ringing bell sample thing going on, and then you'll hear these little pieces of percussion start to fade in, as well as that like side chaining. Which is great because it brings in that whole vibe of what I was doing at the studio, but I still have a level of control over it. For instance, let's say the vocals were mixed too low, which they probably were in that last performance. I could go in and manually just kind of change the volume there. If I want to add some sort of an effect or a delay on the back end of anything, I have all of that flexibility, but it's not going to go over the entire track. It's just going to go over sort of a group of stems. And the way I have it set up through these patterns is each set of 4 is essentially per song scenes. So if I go to track 5, I have set on the 1 right here, you can see I have a drum trig set, but it's actually for a different song. If I hold it down, you can see it's not the call drums, it's the Illumi drums. And again, it's just the same sort of situation where it just triggers the first time that it plays, and then I can jump around any pattern. As long as I don't go back to that very first pattern, that track's just going to keep playing. So for instance, let's talk about right over here on pattern 9, I have the beginning of, again, different percussion. And because I have my kick track separate, I can do breakdowns in different places, so it sort of is like I still have that ability to play around. So I'm still getting that real nice and open flexibility with how I do mixing live and a little bit in where I bring the energy because I'm able to take that kick in and out, but I'm still a little bit on rails, which for me is great because I am doing a lot of my focusing on live remixing and effects and playing around with the modular. So let's kind of jump into what's happening there with the modular as well. Essentially, I have on track 5, I have a stereo input coming into A and B, which is obviously coming out of my mixology mixer over here. I'm sending MIDI out from the Octatrack here to actually play my bass line. So right now my DFAM is doing bass lines, and it's just a really great flexible sounding synthesizer. You can get a lot of cool noises out of it, and a lot of the bass lines that I used on the record ended up having a very analog feel, so I thought I might as well just use my analog bass. And then as you could see through that example, I was also using the plonk for kind of bell sounds, because essentially what I did with this record is most of my bass synthesizers were analog emulations through Ableton, and then most of my external percussive noises that were a little more melodic were through the Applied Acoustic Systems physical modeling emulator in Ableton. So it ends up being while not the exact same, a nice approximation, which brings just a different vibe to a live performance. I also have some effects going on in the Send specifically for this input, and the big one that I'm using is the freeze delay, which many people have done much better tutorials on how to make that, so I will let them take it from here. I'll link one. One will show up, I think it's on this side, one will show up right there. But what's great is it allows me to do really cool performance things like this. So again, I found that really nice balance of having some things on rails, so I have entire songs MIDI programmed here into to be sent over to the modular, but I still have ways to kind of bring up and down tension depending on what I want to do using freeze delays, being able to tweak that filter live in the moment, being able to send different bits of modulation around. And because I've sent my modular up as kind of a more generative ambient machine, that also means that if I want to extend an intro or an outro, it gives me the room to be able to patch something right there in the moment, because I have another voice, and two if I ping the filter, I have up to 2 more voices that I can use to just kind of create something a little different to throw into the background of something, or to be able to create a big ambient opening or ambient ending to a set. And then last, I just currently have some pretty basic effects set up on my master bus. Right now, the main one that I used was just a high-pass filter, just to be able to, again, create a little bit of a live performance element while still kind of staying in the same rhythm of something, making sure that if I miss a cue or something, the song's still going to be able to progress, and I'll just, unmute something and it'll kind of take the vibe out, but it won't totally kill a build-up or anything like that. So essentially, I have myself set up to be able to perform an entire set of a couple of songs, all within one project, all within one pattern, or collection of patterns. So I guess, is that a scene? I don't know. I don't understand this Octatrack. Please help me. But so that's the main gist of everything that I have here. That's a little bit about the philosophy behind how I'm using this as a live performance tool. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button, and also hit that bell notification so that whenever I upload these videos, you'll get a notification. I want to give a shout out to everyone in my Discord for creating a nice, cool environment for me to bounce some of these ideas off and give me a place to get really excited about these sorts of things that I'm trying out. So if you want to be ahead of the curve in hearing what I'm doing, the link to that is in the description. I do live stream here, but I also am trying to move over entirely to doing all of my streams on Twitch so it doesn't clutter up my channel. So if you want to see something like that, there's a link to my Twitch channel in the description as well. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something, hope you found something to enjoy out of it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me either through the comments or through my Discord, and have yourself a wonderful day. Bye-bye.